Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. I'm Sam.
And I'm Brad.
Sorry it's been taking a little longer than we anticipated, just with the holidays and everything like that. You got Christmas and New Year's, and this was just ended up being a really big project. But yeah, so the project we were talking about in the last video about this pit box for slot car racing is what we're tackling today, so stay tuned.
Check it out.
Okay, so for the construction of the box, we're using Baltic birch plywood. We're using 1/2 inch thick for the main structure of the box itself, 1/4 inch for a couple of the shelves in there, and 1/8 inch for a lot of the internal dividers and shelves and like drawer equipment and stuff like that.
And normally when we're building a box or a case or just about anything, we have kind of a rough plan and we just sort of dive in and adjust things as needed as we go. But this has so many parts. There's dividers and shelves and things that slide, and then the top will have an opening door, and then the front has 2 opening doors this way. There's so many parts that have to work together just so. I really needed to get this one ironed out ahead of time, so we went ahead and did some pretty extensive plans. Got all the dimensions lined out for all the dados. We're gonna put it together with box joints, so we got those all figured out. It's just took a lot of head scratching, but hopefully this work up front will make it go together a lot easier.
It's a big mess right now, and it looks like a lot of work, but in reality it'll make this a lot easier.
Yep. Okay, since the 2 sides and the center dividers are going to have basically the same spacing for all the dados, I'm going to start by doing that. So what we'll do is we'll set up for 1 cut, and then we'll do that same cut on all the boards, and then we'll adjust the fence to the next cut and then do the same cut and then go all the way through. That way we're not constantly having to move the fence.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, the 1/8 inch plywood is what we're using to make the sliding drawers. And just one, I already forgot this is called, blade width.
Yeah, curve.
Curve, okay, that's the proper term for it. But yeah, it's just too tight. It could get stuck, this could even break, it would be sloppy.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're making this cut, and then we're moving this fence 1/16 inch overs.
Yeah.
1/16 inch over, so that way it gives you just a little bit more room and it slides a little
make
bit
sure
more
it slides easy.
smoother. So this gives us a little bit more glidiness.
Glidiness.
That's a new word, right?
I like
New
glidiness.
dictionary. Glidiness.
What you got there?
It's a hammer rocka. I'm sorry.
That was terrible. Please. Oh,
Perfect. That actually sounded like
that was a satisfying click.
it was on a puzzle or something.
Not only are box joints strong, but they look super cool too. Got kind of a interlocking zipper kind of thing going on. Gluing this thing up is going to be an absolute nightmare. Okay, here's a little glue up update for you. Didn't get the entire glue up on camera because I suspected it was going to be a nightmare, and I was correct. It was a nightmare. But we got the center dividers all glued in, and they are basically slotted into these dados, and same with the bottom. The box joints glued up pretty good. There was a couple of joints that didn't come together quite as tight as I would have liked, but they're not so far out that it'll cause a problem. I think everything will be fine. So, and the garage is an absolute disaster right now, so sorry about that. Top and bottom panels, actually they'll end up being the front and back panels, are cut slightly oversized, and then they're just going to be glued on. Since they're being glued to 1/2-inch material, there's quite a bit of glue surface. I don't need to use any fasteners or anything. And I'm using the old gravity clamp method. Find anything heavy and throw it on there.
Okay, so we got the basic structure of the box done. We got everything glued together. The joints are locking nicely. So basically here we just have a wooden box. What we need to do next is cut off the top a certain way, cut off the sides a certain way. So we've got doors here and sort of this hinge drawer thing here. And where we're going to do that is we've got this special saw blade. It's a lot thinner than our regular table saw blade, and a plus of that is just so that we don't have such a big gap in between all of our cuts. We want to try to get it as thin but as accurate as possible. And this is a good blade to do that.
Yeah, it's about half the thickness of the kerf on our typical table saw blade. So
it'll be pretty nice for what we're doing.
Yes. This is actually a circular saw blade, but it's got the same arbor size as this table saw blade. Okay, this is nerve-wracking. Put a lot of work into this thing, and now I need to cut it in half. It's a little scary. Oh, that's interesting. Did I not cut deep enough? Maybe I didn't.
Huh. Oh. I think there's like the tiniest bit. I'm getting it on camera too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can barely see it. There's like the tiniest bit. That's not sawdust. Oh yeah, it's on the other side too.
It's not quite. Well, that was dumb. Okay.
Well,
let me try that again.
at least we didn't screw up the entire project.
To cut off these front doors, I've got to make a cut going this way, but I don't want it to go all the way through. I want it to stop here. So what I did is I made a mark on the fence where the entry of the blade is. So I'll feed it into the saw, and then when this mark lines up with this mark, I'll stop, and then that way this blade won't continue cutting into the area we don't want it to cut. That's the theory. We'll see what happens. And then we got to finish the cut by hand, but no problem. See if our theory is correct. Sweet. Now we can finish that little bit by hand with a pull saw. That'd be good. Actually, I'm going to cut this bottom off before I do that. Okay, those cuts were pretty terrifying, but now we've got a lid, top lid that will hinge up like that, and then this will be cut down the middle to be 2 hinged doors. So that's what we got to do next.
Okay, so we have the piece for the front cut out, but we need 2 doors. So I'm just going to cut right down the middle and get 2 doors for the front. All right, we are at that stage in the project where it's basically done, but it's not even a tad bit close to being done. We still got all the hinges inside of here. We still got to put all these drawers and shelves and
Oh yeah, we got to make 9
everything
drawers
like that.
and
Yeah.
6 shelves.
So this cool idea that we had for making our drawer fronts for the drawers itself, we started with just a regular piece of wood, right? And in the direct middle, we cut that diameter of hole.
We drilled it with a Forstner bit.
Yeah,
a
the
2-inch
Forstner bit on our drill over there, and cut a hole down here. Then we cut this whole thing in half. 2 perfect drawer fronts.
Yay! Okay, there's going to be 2 different widths of drawers, but all the drawers are going to be the same depth. So I went into assembly line mode here. I made all the fronts, all the backs, and then all the sides are the same length. So now I just got to figure out how to assemble all this stuff.
So we're starting the construction of the drawers. So we're going to glue those together. What we have here is what we call a rabbet joint. We have a notch taken out here, notch taken out here, and it fits perfectly.
Nice.
We didn't want to have to box joint the whole thing, obviously, because that might be a little bit too much.
Yep.
But works good for what we're doing. So we just take a bit of glue.
Glue. I feel like I have to say that every time we're gluing something
Every time
together.
we're gluing something together.
Glue.
Seems to be becoming a tradition.
I know.
There's some satisfying.
There's some very
video for
satisfying
y'all.
squeeze out right there. Oh, that is super gross. You need a shop towel?
Gross but satisfying at the exact same time.
It's slimy yet satisfying.
Yeah, on the inside of it. So to keep this whole thing square in its drying process, we just cut a couple pieces of scrap to keep this piece elevated. This is another piece of scrap that we cut, but we wanted to keep it elevated just so that way it wasn't at the very bottom.
Well, that it doesn't try to glue itself down.
Of course. This is cut so we're perfectly square. This is exactly 90-degree angle. So this theoretically should be completely square.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and throw a couple clamps on there.
So this whole thing is actually upside down. We are now in the process of gluing the bottom of the drawer. So we're just getting a good amount of glue around the perimeter here before we get it back on there.
Glue. Okay, and we cut these drawer bottoms to the right length, but they are quite a bit wider than they need to be. But we'll trim those down after the fact. I'll show you a little trick for doing that later. We'll throw a piece of something on there. A couple more gravity clamps. Good to go.
Blue thumbs up.
Okay, these drawer bottoms are actually dual function. It's going to be the bottom of the drawer, but they're also going to work as the drawer slide These will go into the little dados in the box. But in order for that to work, there has to be a very specific amount of reveal. And as we told you before, when we glued the bottoms on, they're oversized and they're not even on there particularly straight. But we need to cut, you know, so there's just a specific amount of reveal sticking out. So I've jigged up this additional fence on the table saw. What that allows us to do is feed it through the table saw like this, but the fence can register off of this face while cutting this part down here, which leaves us with the exact amount of reveal that we want there. So, and it works a little something like this. Let's give it a test. Slide it in one of these slots here. There you go. Still got to clean up a little bit of squeeze out and do a little sanding, but perfect fit. With the drawers all finished up, the next thing to make was the car shelves or slots or garages, whatever you want to call them. All these are is a piece of the same 1/8" plywood we used for the drawer bottoms. When we cut an actual slot in it, because that's where the car locks into so it doesn't slide around on the shelf, I just cut a simple little profile out of some pine and just glued that onto the front, which kind of keeps the car from sliding out, and it also gives you a handle to grab onto to pull the shelf in or out. So we got 2 wide ones and 4 narrow ones that'll hold 8 cars. Inside each door I made some shelves, which is just, I added on a couple pieces of 1/4" plywood and 1/8" plywood to just create a little shelf with a pocket here. So one door will have 2 shelves for taller items, and the other door will have 3 shelves for smaller things. Nothing fancy, but effective.
You didn't actually show this on camera, but we gave it a quick finish with a few coats of satin polyurethane. So that's why it's smoother and shiny.
Kind of like the look of the natural birch, but that'll just protect it, make it clean up easier, keep it from getting so dirty and funky.
That combined with like the box joints too.
Yeah, it made a really
Cool
sharp looking edge. Very cool. Sam's just adding the handle on the top, and then we're done. Handle time. And it's done. This thing was a beast. I think we may have underestimated what a project this was going to be.
Definitely.
It was a ridiculous amount of table saw work.
Definitely the most we've ever done.
Yeah, with as much sawing as we did, you'd think we would have built an entire set of cabinets or a house or something, but instead we got this cool little box. We're real happy with it though. I mean, the fit and finish is pretty good. We're not master carpenters by any stretch of the imagination, but we're very happy with it. Lots of moving parts and sliding things and drawers and shelves and lots of things that needed to work together in the assembly, but it all came out in the end. We just hope that Dave and Nikki, the new owners, are as happy with it as we are.
Yeah, I know definitely we are, so can't wait to see what their reaction is when they see it.
I know.
But yeah, totally guys, if you want to see the last video, kind of the introduction to this whole slot car racing thing, it'll be here on the screen. Also, if you want to subscribe to our channel, please don't miss out on any of our new videos. Signing off for now.
See ya.